Oh, how fabulous. Hi, and welcome to How Fabulous by Toni and Co. I'm Toni, and today we talk to the very, very fabulous Prue Jones. Now, Prue and I met a really long time ago in advertising when we were at Clemenger. I was producing there, and she was actually a copywriter. But she's not actually just a copywriter. In fact, she is a designer and an amazing woman that does a lot of stuff that I don't even understand really. So we go into all of that and we unpack what she does and how she does it. And indeed, you know, what her life is now and what she's up to. She's done some really interesting things to do with focusing a bit of a light on the fact that International Women's Day is one day. So there's that. So she is small in stature, but really big in presence. And I really wanted to hear about her story. So there you go, Prue Jones. I hope you enjoy listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed catching up and connecting with Prue. Hello, and welcome to How Fabulous by Toni and Co. I'm Toni, and this is a squeaky chair. This is the first time we've used these chairs, and the first time we have filmed at the magnificent Gale Street studio. So there's that. So this is like the first. So it's a bit exciting today, and even more exciting is the fact that I have the beautiful Prue Jones here, or Prudence Jones, Prudles. I know her as Prue.
Literally answer to anything.
Like literally answering to anything. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. What an honour.
Oh, wow. Honour having you here though. My gosh.
Tony.
So Prue and I met 20 years ago.
Is it that long?
I feel like it's 20 years. Oh. So we met at Clemenger. Proximity back in the advertising days. I mean, everyone's worked at Clemenger, right?
Yes.
And there was that. But Prue and I met. Prue was teamed up with another lovely friend called Tassie, who is actually going to be coming in to have a chat on How Fabulous, because he is also another fabulous person that had a huge impact on my life.
And mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge. So you guys were a dynamic, creative team. You were.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
It was so much fun. Yeah. It was the 90s then. It would have been the 90s. End of the 90s?
Yes. Yes, end of the 90s.
Yes, because I remember we had certain jeans on that we would wear into work, and that sort of, I don't know.
Have they come around full circle again?
They have come around full circle, and the high-waisted and everything. But I remember that it was my first job in an agency. And there was all these sort of, I'd been in advertising for a long time, but never in a big agency. Yeah. Was that your first agency role?
No, I had many agency roles before that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What a past you have, Poodles. What a past. Yes. But at Clemenger, you guys were amazing. So, I used to coordinate all the jobs, and you guys would come, and then being the creatives that they were, I'd go, so here's the job, and then next minute they'd be gone off to go and workshop and brainstorm this idea, and I would be where's
fueled by nicotine, caffeine, all the enes. It was fun. It was fun times. Fun times. The 90s.
Yeah, the 90s. So there was that. So you were copywriting at that point.
I was.
But go right back. That's not how you started in advertising. What happened, Prue? Tell us everything.
Okay.
I love hearing about.
I'll go right back
how
to the
people,
beginning.
found their way. Was it the dream?
It's a long way to go back to, Tone.
I don't care. Tell me everything.
Okay.
I want to know.
All right. So I had always had an interest in art at school. And I kind of knew that, leaving school and becoming an artist, like a fine artist, was probably not going to be a great career move, probably quite limited there. So
not because of cashola, or because of
absolutely,
yeah, and that's a shame.
It is a shame.
Another whole thing.
It is a shame. We could talk about that too. That's a big shame. But so I kind of thought that design might be the way to be able to express one's creative talents and still find a career. So I left school. Actually, did a year at Melbourne University of Humanities, arts degree. Started an arts degree there, and then it was like, yeah, this is university life. Like, this is really not for me. I really need to be using that creative outlet. So,
why did you think uni wasn't for you? Was it too
I loved
structured?
it.
Or?
No. I continued learning French. I was sort of into languages back then, and did some anthropology and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of felt the path that was leading to was probably teaching. And sort of ironically, I've ended up doing a bit of that in my career now, but on a much more informal basis. But I think I just didn't really like the way that it was going. As fun as university life is,
I never went to university, so I do not know. But I from all the reports, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was heaps of fun. But then, just sort of recognised that I probably did need that creative outlet. So I actually went and did a year at Box Hill TAFE, and back then that was the place to go, like to do a year of folio prep. And thinking about it now, that was such a luxury, like literally a year to just indulge every creative whim that you have ever had. And there were so many things that you could do: filmmaking, printmaking, photography, pure design, life drawing, everything you could do. It's just like every day, turn up, do what you love.
And dabble in different things, like learn something every day.
And learn something every day. Find new passions every day. It was great, and I made some.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, it was a dream.
Wow.
It's very different to sort of, it's interesting, that sort of dynamic between the artistic side of you and then later, as you get into your career, the corporate side of you, and how much those things are quite diametrically opposed. Yeah. But or just need to be channeled in the right way, really. But that looking back on that time of my life, it was probably one of the best. I made some extraordinary friends, a lot of whom I'm still in touch with, and have some incredible memories of. We had field trips to Kakadu where we all just were in the landscape drawing together, and it was just an incredible time.
Wow. See, I didn't know this about you at all.
No. Well,
that you were drawing and painting.
Oh,
and yeah, right. So you spent a year there doing that, and then did you come away from that thinking, I know how to do that really well, or this is what I want to do now? Or did you just feel
I'd always
pleased that you had the opportunity to try everything?
Well, yes, obviously. The express point of doing that course was to get a folio together to then go and apply to, art school. And at the time, Swinburne was probably the most highly regarded, and there was Monash and La Trobe and RMIT. And as it was, I think, so I got a folio together and I applied to all of them and got into Swinburne. So I was really pleased. And then there was 4 years of art school where I was really focusing on visual design. And of course, this is just as computers were being introduced. And so...
Okay, so visual, just break down what visual design is.
Well,
for us, the
course was graphic design. So, you think about traditional graphic design, posters, book design, publishing, that kind of thing, packaging, illustration, bit of photography, those sorts of things, those disciplines that would be useful to you as a commercial designer. So that was also a lot of fun. And so I had some friends in that course that came with me from Box Hill, so that was great. So from there it was just kind of getting together, and part of that was doing an industry-based year where you went out and did a placement for a year and you worked in a real studio.
A real design studio with real creatives.
And that was really the first proper job or experience of proper work that I had.
Wow, and how old were you at that point?
Oh God, I would have been...
We're still sort of...
20.
Wow.
20.
Wow. And so you would have been in amongst...
No, hang on. 23. 24.
Ish.
Sorry.
Early 20s.
Early 20s.
Early 20s.
Yeah.
And so you're then, this is your first job, your first real job, going into a design studio, which back then would have been quite amazing to go in and just sort of rub shoulders with the people that are doing that for a living.
Yeah.
And what was your, how did you feel sort of being let into that space?
Well, you know, looking back on it now, it's really kind of funny and quaint. I worked for a company in Carlton above a hardware shop, and it was owned by two guys and their wives, and they primarily sort of did a lot of publishing. So, and remembering that this was pretty much before computers had really taken hold. So a lot of it was very manual. So
literally a packet of coloured, or a row of coloured pencils, just doing stuff and drawing stuff.
Things like Letraset and yeah, I know. Can you imagine? And sending out or creating bromides in the dark room and then pasting up. And I was terrible at this. I'm you know, not very good at being very accurate with things. More of a big picture person. But anyway, like having to get into the detail and making sure that you know, dirty fingerprints weren't sort of in the rubber cement, which used to happen to me all the time. And just getting them perfect, and then like taking another picture and having them sent off to the printers. Like, this is a different world.
Wow. And just even getting a change to any of the briefs, that would have come in so differently. Yeah. Facsimile, anyone?
Oh, yeah.
Or mail, maybe?
Yeah.
I remember when I first started in an advertising, in a recording studio.
Yeah.
And that was outside of being a receptionist at an advertising agency, we actually got our briefs via fax, and this was in the days when we would record an ad and it would go on 1/4-inch tape.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And then I would type up a label, put on the tape, 1/4-inch tape, and then put it in a box and courier it around to the radio stations to put on. It was. It just feels so weird. And Pauline, the beauty, come in here, Pauline, just to put your little face in there. Here's Pauline.
I'm delivering the coffee.
Yeah, but Pauline. Really she owns this whole place.
Yeah, so amazing.
But she's doing coffee today.
Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, cheers. What's this?
Long Mac.
Long Mac. But mine's a very not strong one. It's not very hardcore.
It's kind of like a long black with a bit of stain of milk in it. So,
but I've only got one shot. Prudence over there has got two because she's
2000.
Yeah, she's a
coffee.
She can handle it, man. But times change, don't they? And so, how did you go about with the whole learning of the computer? You know, like designing on a computer with, you know, that funny thing. What's that thing called? A thingy?
Wake on board.
Yeah.
I've never been a big Wake on board user or anything like that. I think they were introduced at school, and we sort of had an allocated time we could go and use them, like an hour every so often if we needed to produce something out of the computer. But I think for me, the digital aspect of it all really sort of ramped up after I'd had my child. I mean, obviously had been using computers, you know, way before then, but I kind of went into a digital agency part-time, and and that's around about that time, sort of mid-2000s, is when digital was really becoming a thing. So I was lucky enough to find some part-time work in a boutique digital agency, so that I could have child minding responsibilities and actually work. So that's when that sort of really began to be a thing for me, and I really loved the whole digital side of things, because, like I said before, not really into the details. Sometimes committing that stuff to print and having made a slight mistake, it just lives with you forever and ever. But in digital, of course, if something is wrong or you want to change it, you just shift a few pixels around.
Tick. And it made your I mean, I guess everybody's life a lot, being able to output a lot quicker and make changes, but it also has that other side of it where it's expected that you do something real quick and you change it real quick and you do it straight away. You can't wait for it. Whereas back in the olden days, that could take a 2-day turnaround but now you can't. And life is so...
And also the pace.
Yeah, the pace is so different.
It has changed.
And if someone, you know, wants to change something, they will send you an email. Yeah. And it has to, you know, they imagine as soon as you push, they've pressed send and you've opened it up, and they can even see if you've opened it up. Yeah. It needs to be actioned.
Yes. And of course, one big casualty of that is the creative process itself and creativity, because that can't be instant all the time.
Yeah, and I wonder if agencies still do that. They give their creatives the time to actually go out and sit and have coffee together and talk about the idea and craft it and commit to it the time that it needs, because it is very difficult to just go creative now, tell me how that's going to be, and you're like, I don't know, it's a process, right?
I need to have a shower first, because my best thoughts happen in the shower. Do you know what I mean?
There it is.
You can't just, like, people aren't oranges that you can squeeze and get the creative juices out of.
Yeah, but you have to. But there is that thing, you just have to. And you
so that's that commercial versus that creative thing.
I don't know, where do you think that's going to end up? Do you think creators will just go, I just can't do this anymore, and be gone, and that's it?
Well,
or they just have to do...
There's a lot of conjecture about where it might go. Artificial intelligence, feed in the parameters of the brief and see what it comes out with. I mean, it's already happening in design. Artificial intelligence can build websites and stuff like that. So and I think there are probably a few creative people fearful of losing their jobs to robots. I don't think that will ever totally happen, but
I don't think so.
I think for maybe some smaller scale creative things that might be done by robots, bigger thinking left to humans. I don't know.
But I guess across everything, because life is so much quicker, everything, including food, is quicker. How you enjoy your weekend is quicker. What you want, how you want to shop, you want it there. If you buy something online, I want it here tomorrow.
Yeah.
But then there's, especially over COVID, there was that opportunity to really slow down.
Yeah.
Because you simply couldn't get things done real quick. And I think a lot of people had a chance to reflect and work out what they really wanted to do. And a lot of people moved away because they wanted the slower pace. How did you go with COVID? Were you still working? Actually,
yes.
I want to hear about this, and then I want to hear about we'll talk about what you're doing right now as well. It's fascinating.
Well, okay. So where I work is actually, it has a lot of interface with government. With Australia's biggest brands, biggest services. So we found there was this flicker at the beginning of COVID of, oh my God, are we all going to lose our jobs? And then almost overnight it was like, oh no, we're not going to lose our jobs. We're actually going to be busier than we've ever been.
You will be 5 times as busy per day than you've ever been.
Yeah.
And you'll be working longer.
That's right. So there were some mental health services that called upon us to sort of expand the reach of those. We helped some major supermarkets extend their supply chains to help cope with the extra sort of influx of supermarket shopping at the time. Remember the toilet paper fiasco?
Yeah. Who can forget that?
Yes. So we were quite we were very busy helping with the fallout of COVID and getting a few people's products and services up to speed. So, and that just seemed to continue and continues to this day. So it was personally kind of, I guess the whole team actually found it a little bit overwhelming, especially coping with this new way of working that was all virtual, and not having the sort of precious moments of camaraderie and all that kind of stuff that you get in person with a team, the water cooler moments, the chances for that, when you kind of just run into someone in a hallway and they say, what are you working on? And you tell them that you can bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah,
that
but even
was all
just
lost.
Like a work in progress.
Completely.
Which you can do that online. Of course, you can do most things online, but nothing beats being able to be there next to someone and actually really gauge what is actually going on, and using your little spidey senses and
missing
getting
those
a feel.
cues. If somebody isn't really coping, it's very difficult to do that over a Zoom call.
And the feeling of Zoom was fantastic, and I did a lot of that sort of thing, but especially being able to take a cue and not feeling like you can actually say something because of a delay, because do I speak now because there's 7 other people on the screen, and how do I do that? So that's a big thing. And do you continue to work from home now?
Yeah, we're slowly transitioning back to the office. At the moment, we're fortunate because we can work remotely, and that was something that really helped us to kind of really hit the ground running, I guess, at the beginning of COVID, with being responsive to client needs, because we were all already. I mean, we are a technology company essentially as well, so we all had the infrastructure in place to be able to just work. No one had to, literally. We found out the office was closing. People were like, right, I'll take that chair, that monitor, whatever, take everything home, and then everyone was set up to just continue on. So, yeah.
Wow, such a strange time.
Yeah, it was.
But we'll jump back to that. So. After Clem, so you were copywriting, then you got back into you circled back into design again.
Yeah.
Was that because you just didn't love the copywriting, or you went?
No.
Yeah, that was just a.
No, I mean, I love writing. I love writing to this day, and often if there's an aspect to a project that requires writing, I'm quite happy to jump in and have a go. I love writing. I also write in my spare time, so. That's fun. The design thing, design, when I started out, like I was talking about coffee tables, books, posters, they're still a thing, but design has become so much of a broader discipline, if you like. So, we're talking about, people talk about design-led organisations. So design is really embedded in a lot of companies now, and nothing happens organically or is left to chance. Outcomes and business models, all those things are designed. So design is such a broad church, and design, obviously, we have content design teams within Fjord, where I work. We have. So what's design? We have all sorts.
So what do Fjord actually do, and what's your role in there? Okay. You're a studio director.
Yes.
I'd love to know what that person does. What do you do?
Right, well, so let me just explain. So Fjord was acquired by Accenture, and Accenture, if you have never heard of them, is a massive consultancy. We employ over 500,000 people worldwide, so that's like the population of Tassie. So Fjord was acquired by Accenture in 2013, and at the time was like less than 50 people. So since then, we now have 28 studios around the world. We have approaching 1,500 designers.
Wow.
So we've had an incredible period of growth, and as I say, and I think this reflects the fact that design really is mainstream, and it's not confined to objects or things. Now we are in the business of designing experiences and services for Accenture's clients worldwide. And it's like a fascinating place to work. We have colleagues all over the world. They're all working in different markets, but we might work on similar engagements, so we can share a lot of intel and really sort of get to the nub of what are essentially human problems that we're trying to solve. People are the same the world over. They might operate in different sort of social contexts, but they still have the same hopes, dreams, desires, needs around the world. So that's. I think it's actually almost a really good social experiment as well, like to kind of see how that your work in your market translates to the work in another market.
And so what's your role there?
I'm the studio director in Melbourne, so I look after the team, but I'm also a design director, so I'm on tools, if you like, doing the work too for clients.
That sounds like a really huge role. And do you sort of see yourself, where do you go from here? Like, what is the next sort of thing?
Part of it, like I said before, Accenture is also a technology company. So increasingly, new technologies are impacting design. So things like artificial intelligence, robotics, and all that kind of stuff. Are sort of increasingly being included in the design work that we do. I've always I discovered that a passion for art, creative stuff, yes. Also have a bit of a passion for technology and what it can do, and I'm really interested to see the impacts of that. So we did some fascinating work out of our Fjord studio in London with a man called Peter Scott Morgan, who unfortunately was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, and he's also he's a professor of artificial intelligence. So he decided that he was going to become the world's first cyborg as his condition deteriorated. So the Fjord office worked with him, and actually we helped him create an avatar so that as he lost the ability to speak and he deteriorated, we created a digital avatar for him so he could go on speaking. We captured over 60 hours of his voice.
Oh my God, I just got goosebumps.
I know, it's amazing. So and it's a really fascinating case study. So he's as his body was shutting down, he had some surgeries to kind of almost make it a closed system, so that he could kind of preserve his bodily integrity, and then things like bioskeletons to help him to walk. So he literally wants to become a cyborg so he can go on speaking, emoting, living in the face of motor neurons, so he can continue as a human being.
That is amazing. Yeah.
So there's some fascinating things happening with design.
Yes. So quite different from what people would imagine. The everyday person thinks about when they think about design. Yeah. It's actually not that. It's 17 levels up from that, and so vast.
It's just woven into the fabric of life now. You know what I mean? It's not a designs over here.
It's all encompassing, and it's the your imagination is just
unlimited. Really.
It's absolutely unlimited. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's amazing. And so, how do you find time to do other stuff? You've got you had a little passion project which I found fascinating. Tell us all about that.
Okay. So the other thing that I'm very passionate about is what's happening with women in general. And it's an exciting time to be alive in this regard. I feel like just at the tail end of COVID, coming out of that, perhaps it's that period of reflection that you talked about, but everyone's really had time to think about the plight of women in modern society. And I think what COVID did
different levels.
Yes, COVID brought that into very sharp focus. So it was women losing their jobs at twice the rate of men. It was women that were doing the homeschooling and trying to hold down their jobs,
and have their meetings online. And
that's right.
Doing all of
that.
Or
giving up their paid work in favour of their husbands or partners, so that they could work, which of course impacts women's financial stability, security in the long term. So I have been the local I&D lead for Fjord for a while, and I think Accenture does some amazing stuff actually. In this, we have a female CEO, Julie Sweet. She's an incredible woman, and you can see real initiatives starting to be implemented within Accenture. So I think some corporates are doing a good job, but in other corporates, I feel like things like International Women's Day, for example, become this bit of theatre, and let's get women in a room, let's celebrate their achievements for a day.
For one day.
And then, March 9 rolls around and it's just business as usual till the next year, till the women themselves are the ones that get tapped on the shoulder and, can you organise something for International Women's Day this year? And they're the ones, and they're often doing it as a +1 over and above their day jobs. And they're preaching to the choir, because it's women that turn up, and they're the ones. They have your female networking events afterwards, and the conversation is very one-sided, because literally this is men's problem to solve, not ours. So I think. So it was actually just born out of anger, as the best things are. So I have a fantastic friend by the name of Andy Wright, and he has a company called Never Not Creative, and he does a lot of work around the mental health of creative people, which actually has been shown to be quite a lot. You think about creative people always, like, I am my work, and feeling like, when they're up against a deadline or something, second guessing themselves, like
it's not
imposter syndrome. Yeah, exactly.
Imposter syndrome. Every creative has imposter syndrome, don't they?
Yes,
I'm sure.
So he's done a lot of work there and found that the mental health of creative people is actually less than the general population. Surprise, surprise. Long hours, all that kind of stuff contributing. I was having a rant to him one day about this whole International Women's Day thing, and how ineffective it really is in terms of a social or a political movement, if you like. It's not a movement, it's a day, but it's just not going to move things forward. So we were sort of talking about it, and he sort of said, I don't think it should ever not be International Women's Day, and then it became never not International Women's Day. So we came up with the idea that we'd have this 24/7 platform running to continue the conversation beyond March 8th, to really invite some amazing creative women to speak, and others from outside the creative industry, and men to speak about how we might change things. And the brief that we put to the speakers was, it should never not be International Women's Day until ... fill in the blank, what that means for you. And we had we've got some amazing content up online at the moment.
And where's that?
That is at nevernotcreative.org/NNIWD. So Never Not International Women's Day.
We will be putting that up, for sure.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, because you can't actually watch content on demand. It's set up like we would have used to have watched free-to-air TV. You just tune in, and then whatever's on is on. You can see what's coming up, but it is literally running in a continuous loop. There's an amazing talk from T.U. Glow, and she is the creative director of Google Labs. And she's a trans woman, so we wanted to be really to just surface the entire gamut of females, women out there, and men too. So we've got obviously women of colour, and we've got non-binary people, the whole lot, because it's really important that conversation includes everyone.
And I think in a cross section. I mean, are you focusing mainly on the creative industry, but is it a cross-section of women that don't work as well, or people that are actually working?
No, just women that are working at the moment, but that's actually a really fabulous point.
It would be, that could be, fleshed out, that idea that you actually get women who aren't in full-time work, because a lot of women kind of don't see their 1 or 2 days or whatever they do for the school PTA or whatever as real work, but it actually really frickin' is. Yeah. And women that aren't in the workforce, their ideas about International Women's Day and why it should be ...
Well, it's not just about work, is it? Those women, you might not have a job or a career, but you still live in society.
Absolutely.
Society that is saturated with the it's
very much about who and what you should be, and how you should behave, and how you should, behave, conduct yourself, age, not age, dress, not dress, look, not look, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. I would love to talk about, investigate that more, because
it's very hard to be a woman because there's no acceptable way to be a woman.
I think it really, it is, and this is another whole episode on its own, but I think it is. You and I are both in our, we're actually middle-aged. Let's face it, we are actually middle-aged.
I'd say aren't we a little bit beyond middle-aged?
Shut up. Okay, we're a little bit beyond middle age.
I don't know. Life expectancy is 100 now.
Yeah. Well, it's that. Yeah. But that's a whole different place to be as well in the workforce. I'm quite different from you in that I'm still a freelancer. I'm still in the freelance and bouncing around different places. I might add.
Killing it.
And then you're in, managing a corporate and managing this big team. but we're still mothers outside of that, and trying to sort of still stay happy and fit and well and keeping up with everything.
It's crazy,
and it is really quite crazy because and we're both raising boys, so there's that whole kind of how do we
what an eye-opener.
Oh gosh, how do we teach our boys to how do we show our boys what it means to respect themselves and respect women and respect men and show men how to respect women, and there's that whole thing going on. So
this is where all of this starts, Toni.
Yeah, that's right. It does.
Too late for the older generation. They're probably set in their ways.
Well, I think they are very set in their ways, and you can't blame them for that because that's how they were. It's a long time to be that way, but
it'll
you
take
are
a while to undo it.
Yeah, it's a long time to undo it, and it's quite complicated and tricky. But I love that there are women here right now, and peers and people that I've have been lucky enough to connect with, and new people that I connect with all the time. I'm looking at all these women here that do think differently about themselves now, and do think differently about their futures and about what they can actually contribute. Not and feeling brave enough to do that, and feeling supported enough to speak up and speak out and do amazing stuff. I mean, you're obviously absolutely killing it in your field as well, and your brain is quite fascinating, Prudels. You're not just
Toni,
not just gorgeous, but there's so much in there. There's so much in there and here, and that project says volumes about where you are and who you are and what you do.
Well, like I said, really born out of frustration. It's like it's beyond time for things to change. No more. I mean, like all of this. I read another one of those depressing stories the other day about how at current rates we'll get gender parity in terms of pay in 280 years.
Oh my God,
that's too slow. That is way too slow.
That's way too slow.
Like one of my my main frustration about it is, it's literally when COVID hit, overnight government sprang into action and implemented what is essentially a universal basic income in the form of JobKeeper.
Yes.
To address the fact that people had uncertain employment or lost their jobs. Overnight.
Yeah, literally it was overnight.
If there is the will, these things can be done super quickly. And to me, it just indicates that the will is not there. And I mean, because women have been so ready, to just carry the can till now. But I think that that's really changing, this Women's March movement and all of that, all coming to a head at the same time. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Women have really had enough, be it at work or, just in society in general. And it's so great to see it. And this time I hope that we do see real change, because like I said, it's beyond time. Really is beyond
It'll
time.
be interesting to see what it's like in even another year, what's happened in this year. Things do happen so slowly, but when we reflect what's happened in the last sort of even 10 years, that's a little bit encouraging. But I think people are really pushing for things to happen much, much quicker. We can't go, we want that in 10 years. We don't want that in 10 years. We want things to change now. ASAP.
And they can.
Because they can.
They can.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on, Prudels.
Oh, you're welcome, Toni.
It's just so lovely seeing your beautiful face again after all this time. We'd love to have you back again sometime, for sure.
I'll be back, sure.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you so much, Prue Jones, and we'll put all of those details about all the amazing stuff they do, and Fjord, why not? Can we? Or is that illegal that we do that? Can we put the website there? Surely.
Yes, of course, you can.
See all the fabulous stuff that you do. All right, thank you.